Welcome to the Ubuntu Touch Q&A, the UBports Foundation show discussing the development of Ubuntu Touch and our community's questions. This is episode 29, streamed live on June 2nd, 2018. I'm going to post this link in the Telegram group, and we are going. There we are. So, my name is Dalton, but you don't care about that. You really want to know about the co-hosts. This week we have Florian.
Hello.
Jan.
Hello.
And Marius.
Hello.
And we're going to jump right in. Jan has something he wants to tell you all, and it's super important.
Way to oversell it, Don. Way to oversell it. So last time I think we talked a little about roadmaps, which is a recurring theme on this show, and hit by a bus syndrome and like improving our processes in the foundation and really thinking about ways to improve the communication between the foundation and the community. And that conversation continued behind doors. I think after the last live stream, we were like still in Hangouts for 4 or 5 more hours. So it was an interesting conversation. The results are not completely done yet, but I think we also had some discussions on the forum. They were very interesting, some very interesting input from community members there. And I think we will be able to give a more official answer for this and like share some of the plans and some of the process, how the final roadmap then will be decided upon. I think we can share that within the next week. I think on the forum and then the blog, we will announce it somehow. And that's going to be interesting.
I'm sorry, I just clicked all of the wrong buttons at once trying to talk again. So the other half of that question was kind of, oops, I messed up.
What'd you do?
Oh no, I closed it. Let me open this back up. There we go. Okay. There we are. Is that the only, do we want to move on to the browser then?
I think, yeah.
Okay. That is all we have on that for now, but we will get back. Let's go into some more interesting things for people, because that was oversold. So in the forum, I posted a flow hack on how to install.
Marius has delay.
Marius has a lot of delay. I posted how to install the new browser next or browser NG app, which is the which is basically just the current browser app, but it embeds Qt Web Engine rather than Oxide as its browser engine. And the reason we want this is because Oxide is kind of broken a lot, and Qt Web Engine is not broken as much a lot.
My internet.
Are you back?
Yeah. I hate my internet. So what did you say? What should I say? Where are we?
This is the UBports community Q&A, Marius.
Yeah. Okay. So the browser NG, the browser is a project to bring in Qt Web Engine to base the existing browser that we have on top of a new engine instead of using the terrible Oxide code that is a year old now, and knowing browsers, they move extremely fast. So this is a project to make this browser the next browser, and we already have a forum post that all posted You can install the really early test versions, which are not suitable for daily use, and more come as the develop moves forward. The thing that's holding it mostly back now is our older Qt version, so we have to do backporting and backporting of stuff from newer version of Qt Web Engine because of Wayland and Direct EGL support that is not available version than 5.11 of Qt, which means we have a lot of things to backport and sort. So mostly now we were waiting for Debian to bring in the newer version of Qt Web Engine, so we can use that version in our
Let someone
builds.
else work on it. Basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, well, it's no point of doing dual work since they are doing it anyway. We don't need to do it again.
Mm-hmm. So we do have a plan to pre-install Qt Web Engine in the image, but not the browser itself. So the Web Engine will be there, and you'll just need to download the click from the Open Store in order to use the browser when OTA 4 does ship. Right now, if you want to use it, you can go to the forum. There's a post in the support section on how to install it, and it does involve using apt. So, and making your image read-write. The changes will be overwritten on every update, which happens every day right now. So, good time. In the supergroup, we have the question, is this more similar to the usual browser or Firefox? This is not Firefox at all. It's not Servo or Gecko. This is Chromium, except Qt made it. Yes, it is just the current browser, but with Qt Web Engine. And some of the QML is kind of buggy at the moment.
It's actually pretty similar to Oxide, what we had before, right? It's just a newer version.
It's a newer version, and it the initial response in the forum has been that it's a lot more stable than Oxide is right now in 1604, and some of the features are working better.
Also, it follows closely, or it follows closer to upstream Chromium. It follows the upstream Chromium. It has also like 2 people working on it constantly. Like Oxide had none now because it's such a big project. And also backports of security patches is all by Qt. And also at the same time, you also can have DRM, proprietary media, like Netflix, for example, you can run on this, which you can't do on Oxide. So Chrome extensions, pretty much. Well, Chrome native extension, not the other extension, the UI extensions. Just the backend extensions.
And I think at the moment it's based on Chromium 60, so it's pretty current, right?
Yeah, it's 60 now, but we will upgrade to, I think it's 64 once that's released because of Wayland support or DirectL. Well, what I just tagged 5 minutes ago.
Another question from the supergroup, does it include the web app container and replace Ubuntu.web yet? It does not. However, the plan is to do that in the future. It won't be on this update. It'll be on an update in the future. And the plan is to ship it as a click in the open store and to direct people to that if they're having issues with the current browser.
Yeah, so the issues you will see if you go on the GitHub issue tracker on the 1604 backlog milestone, there are some browser specific issues.
A good list of them.
Yeah, those might stay there because they are almost entirely Oxide related. So that's the way around that, essentially. So yeah, they might still stay there in OTA4, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's
it won't be
Oxide
the best situation, but it'll work.
Yeah, the reason for this is because Oxide is just extremely huge, and to get into the code is a huge task, and then you need to do bug fix and that's not something we want to maintain. That's why Qt Web Engine is a lot better choice for us also because security passes and all the things that they said.
Mhm.
So it works better overall. Yeah. Also, notice the creative icon there.
Yeah. Yeah. 180 degrees. Flip the logo. Up next,
Yeah.
another project
think we got that covered.
Marius and Florian took on this week was moving some of our infrastructure, getting it all documented and everything, and moving it into Docker Swarm. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So if I start with this,
Yeah, sure.
the thing with using Docker Swarm is the part of us being able to recreate the current infrastructure in the matter of all config files based. Everything is configurable on a GitHub repository that you have, which means that you can run basically one command and automatically deploy the same system we have. Of course, you won't have the database data, but that will be backed up with the Docker volumes. So when we have the volumes and have these config files, you can basically replicate the same infrastructure in a matter of minutes. But at the same time, we also have redundancy, which means that if one Docker Swarm works like a cluster, you have multiple servers working together. If one of the server goes down, the others take the load, which means that
if Marius would have this redundancy, he wouldn't drop out now. But I can continue.
we will in time.
So sorry, Guy, you were a little bit lost with your internet.
Yeah, my internet, no surprise there. So yeah, I would have Docker Swarm on my internet, but sadly I can't. But where I was, redundancy, which means that if one node goes down, the other node takes the job, which means we will have a website that stays up all the time, an infrastructure that stays up all the time, unless there is problems with DigitalOcean, which rarely happens. But also at the same time, we can also have geo-based load balancing, which means that we can have set up a US node, American loads, and redirect all the data from Dalton over to the US node, and we can have a private one in Europe.
Yes, I'm the only user of Ubuntu Touch in America.
Well, but yeah, it's an example, but you get what I mean. Is that you have a node you can set around the world. Also, a good thing about this, if the network disappear in our Europe node, we can then redirect all the data over to the American node, so we have redundancy if something goes down. But I think the most important part is be able to replicate the full infrastructure in a matter of minutes, which means also contributing to the bus factor.
Mm-hmm. And getting all of that infrastructure so that it's all documented in the open. If someone wanted to replicate what we do, then they can do that, which will get more interesting as things like system image get in there.
I think this is the main point.
Not only
this, that there are some custom scripts that they are not in the wild like this, and some of them are very canonical or Ubuntu specific. And the more of what we can document and put here in public, the more benefit we can have. Even maybe somebody can write an improvement for it someday. It's not only for backup.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And really,
since we're working in open, everyone can make improvements to it and deploy it locally and push changes back to our GitHub. Continue, Dalton.
And really, this all comes around the fact of allowing us to work more on Ubuntu Touch rather than on our infrastructure. And that's really what's most important to us here.
And also, for example, today I made a small bash script for deleting space on our repo server. So I'm not the biggest programmer for bash, and probably somebody else will find a much cooler way to do it. And here also people can help that are not so much into Ubuntu Touch specific things, more generic scripting and using tools and so on. So we can expect that here maybe more people get interested in immediately contributing something. Yeah. So I think that's a great thing that we can do. Also, somehow the Jenkins setup and the build pipeline and so on. We might get some feedback here, what we are doing right or wrong. So there's a lot of interesting or complicated steps in how to get Ubuntu Touch to the phone. So we would like to have some feedback on that, yeah, as soon as it's possible.
Well, Florian, people can provide feedback. Sorry.
No.
Repeat that. You talked
Is
over.
there a place where people can provide feedback? Like where do they go?
The best thing would be just create an issue on the GitHub repository, and we can collect everything there. Have it a nice overview for everyone.
And that's UBports Docker Swarm in our organization.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to let Flo talk some more, because we're going to talk all about his experiments in push notifications on Matrix.
Yeah, it turns out that we might have overlooked the ease of implementing push notifications for Matrix clients, because they made a clever approach on Matrix to say, okay, we know that there are a lot of clients outside and it's distributed server infrastructure. We need to be able to decouple or to separate all the Matrix servers from having implementations for various push methods. Like for iOS and for Android, it's clear there are two different methods. So they introduced the concept of a push gateway. And I think I already mentioned this to a few people. So we are now setting up a push gateway, or already set up a push gateway for Matrix clients on our organization that will be able to push to whatever is running on the phone. So the interesting thing is that for UMatrix, I'm already talking with the devs about this. And it will be possible, hopefully, in some time, because we need to upgrade the library and this and that, and to make the local notification, this push helper, working. But then, technically, it's already completely solved and clear how we can do it. So we can bring the push notifications to Matrix in a very nice and easy way. There is no real big concerns or big problems here. And this will really work then for all Matrix servers if you're using your own Matrix server or just matrix.org or whatever. The second thing that came up on this week was that there is actually a second Matrix client being developed in the community. It's called Fluffy Chat. So if somebody wants to try that, give us some feedback. We will see. But obviously Matrix got some attention. So I would say then when this is working with the push notifications, we will anyway make a big announcement about this. And that might be a good chance for everyone to try Matrix, how he likes it. Yeah, it's currently, let's say, for me, it's more like RSC chat than Telegram, but somehow it's also a mixture between both. Yeah? So I'm not using it that much at the moment, but it's really something that we should take more look at. And with push notifications, it somehow gains a little bit of more usability on the phone. Yeah. So that's what what I was doing mostly for the last days, let's say, and hopefully for the next 2 weeks. So maybe in 2 weeks for the Q&A, we can already give some update if it's working or not. I will hope that all the guys will push on this to make push really pushing.
You could say that they're pushing it real good.
Yes, I didn't want to say it like this.
It was in the doc. You just had to say.
I'm waiting this.
So what is Fluffy Chat doing different? Do you know that?
I just had a look now in the GitHub repository. I'm not quite sure. It seems to be also QML centric app. It's used a lot of QML only. The developer says something about for him. It's currently more like in a beta or experimental stage, but actually, it looks like it could be also something very nice for us. I mean,
the description does specify that it's minimalist, so maybe that's kind of the angle that he's going for.
On the other hand, I must say I would love to see joining forces on that, so both projects can help each other. That projects don't spawn so many sub projects or forks as we know. In open source community, forks are always bad for the overall result. Because in the end, the survival of one or both is always the question how much effort can be put inside. And it's better always if you have more hands working towards one goal than two goals. But okay, this is only personal opinion. I'm just saying that in the beginning, when we don't have a stable client, would maybe make more sense that we put all the resources into one of them. Yeah. But of course, on the other hand, you can also say a little competition doesn't hurt. Then maybe both parties get motivated to proceed with even more energy, let's say. So the metrics situation is very bright for this week. And yeah, I hope it gains some traction. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that, because that's going to be really useful, and I'm probably going to move my parents to Matrix once I do that, so they stop SMSing me all the time.
Yeah, and we have a lot of choices, because the Matrix push notification is really, let's say, a luxury one. It has a lot of elements inside. It can tell you exactly, it can notify you about more actions in one packet and for more devices. And you can also see, you can set filters, so you could theoretically receive certain notifications on a certain device. This is not possible with Telegram, for example. Yeah. So when we really implement all these API correctly, we have something that is highly configurable in what notification you want to receive, where, and when, let's say. Yeah. They put a filter layer inside, and yeah, I hope it's not too complicated for us.
Sounds like it'll be a good time.
Yeah.
Here's a fun one. Oh, spam. Ban. 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 There, okay. Sorry. Got distracted there. Up next, we have something a little extremely interesting to people who are looking for 1604 and there not being as many regressions in it. We're working on converting a lot of the apps that are currently pre-installed on 1604 to pre-installed clicks. Right now, a majority of the apps in 1604 are installed as deb packages, which is, of course, what you would do if you were installing Ubuntu Touch on your tablet, or not tablet. Let me try again. It's what you would do if you were installing Unity 8 on your desktop, is you would install those all as debs, which is kind of the angle that we took at the beginning. The problem is that Unity 8 doesn't really handle that very well, having an app that is both a click and a deb. So it would end up showing two versions of an app, and one wouldn't launch and the other would, and it's just a mess. So what we're working on right now is I have added clickable.json files to all of our core apps, so they're now building clicks for 1604, or at least they will. Meanwhile, Marius prototyped a quick little build server in Node. I'm gonna let that one sit for a second. Which integrates with GitHub and I believe the open store. Marius, can you talk a little more about that?
Yeah, so it's building Node because Node is awesome, and but the reason why it's building Node, I will just go a tangent why it's building Node, because it's easy to develop.
No,
it's
that's fine.
It's extremely easy for everyone else to develop in. And also the second reason is because both open store and our API is also built Node, so it makes sense to build in Node. And both me and Brian Douglas are pretty much well. Node is a lot easier because it's JavaScript and everyone knows JavaScript.
Just continue.
Just go.
But continue.
No.
So the reason why this was built is because right now our infrastructure is set up to build Debian packages. The Debian package system we have is tightly integrated with Jenkins, how it is right now. And for us to be able to build both Debian packages, click packages, and also don't let them conflict with each other was not the easiest task to achieve. First of all, because if, for example, a click failed, all the other chain will also interrupt and die, which means that if a click fails, Debian would not be pushed, and Debian would not build the other architecture, and yeah, everything would just sure. And to solve this was not really a solvable problem because we are using Jenkins files, and Jenkins file, you can only have one Jenkins file that tells how the build chain is set up. Second of all, we won't get the automatic pushing to OpenStore if we want that. That was also a problem that we had, was we want to have independently channel selecting, since we both have Vivid and Xenial right now, but in the later stage we will also probably have Bionic and whatever comes later on in the food chain, or the chain later on, or animal chain is the correct saying. And also, if we also want to have beta stable channels and all these channels that we want to have in the Click Store, this is also contributing to the fact that we need a better system. So, since Node has a million libraries you can find on NPM, it was actually pretty easy to set up, because you get that GitHub one and you get that socket IO and you get Express, and you just combine it together, and it took 3 hours to build a server which does all that we want, and also have Node, instead of you have one node that does all the building, have children to a master node, which then builds independently by themselves instead of interfering with the main node. And this is all automatic. So when you push to GitHub, it sends a GitHub hook to the server. The server requests one of the nodes to build your project with Clickable, and then uploads it to OpenStore. So it's like the build Snapcraft, build.snapcraft.io, kind of like that. Yeah.
The interesting thing is there's actually a bug on the OpenStore to provide a service like this. Actually, I filed it. Automatically building packages for developers. So if we can get this to fruition and actually make it public for people, I think this will be an excellent feature of our infrastructure.
Right now, I have only limited it to UBports project because it has no authentication, which we will need before we can do anything else. So now it's just limited to the UBports repository. But if anyone wants to help out with this, and I will gladly appreciate that, because it's an awesome thing if you can get this working, because seeing things build automatically is just the most satisfying thing ever.
And that is the click.ubports.com repository in our organization. There has been one commit.
And if you want to read my my comments in there, I think that's interesting, because it was a time of the day where my mind shifted off on a tangent sometimes. So the comments are kind of interesting, I would say.
You actually used JSDoc, which I've never seen you do before. Good job. I'm rubbing off on you.
JSDoc?
Never mind. This was just the auto-generated file.
No, I did probably that.
Oh. Hello? Okay, he's gone now.
Oh. Again.
He's back.
He's dying. I'm not gone. I'm here. Hello. My network.
We need an editor.
What's going on?
I guess we're
How
going to
network?
move on now. Jan, I see you put something in the doc that I want.
Oh yeah, this is fun. So I know many people have been waiting for this for quite a while, and we've always been saying later, no, not at the moment. But now it's finally happening. T-shirts and hoodies as a reward on Patreon.
Hype overload! So
Yeah. So we got some designs, and we already started giving some away at UbuCon Europe a month ago already. Man, time flies. And yeah, we will also introduce them as a new Patreon reward. I think depending on how my free time looks tomorrow, we will file those rewards formally. So then you can go to Patreon and select the reward whatever you want. So if you want a t-shirt or a hoodie or a pen, we also have pens. And they are really awesome.
In addition to, of course, the stickers that already exist.
Of course, yeah, you can already get the stickers. But yeah, we will modify the reward system a little, and it's going to be amazing. So be sure to go to patreon.com/UBports.
It's actually a little chilly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's actually a little chilly here today, so I do have my UBports hoodie on, but you won't get exactly this one.
Yeah, you will get a different one.
But this is the experience that you will get, and it is a good
I hope.
experience.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I hope you wash this before you ship it.
Yeah, we will just have one, and it's Dalton's, and we will just send it around, and you won't get it. You will just rent it for a month, and then you don't wash it and send it over to the next person. We will just give you the address, and we will just have one hoodie, one size fits all. And
one
after a
size and
year,
one hoodie
I think
fits all, yeah.
it will develop a very special smell, and it's going to be great. No,
We're not doing that.
That's not what we're doing.
I don't know context here because my network shifted out, but that's weird.
Sounds sounds good. Yeah, good job. That is hype. Someone make a GIF of that, maybe? The hype overload? So that was fun. Okay.
Okay, but I will just take a smaller question here before we move along. Rodney pointed out a really nice thing about Qt and backporting. Since we are using 5.9, which in the LTS, shouldn't Qt backport stuff? No, not necessarily on Oxide, because Oxide is stuck on that version until Qvention until it moves to the next step. So
what's up with your hand?
Yeah.
Oh, right. The camera's down there because I own an XPS 13.
Yeah. Yeah, my mind just shifted a bit. But yeah, sure, let's continue. It's a Qt because it's stuck on a Chromium version, and then the newer Chromium things won't be backported, only security fixes. So stuff like Valent fixes won't get backported to Qt 5.9 in the Qt.
That's an us problem.
Yeah, it is.
We're trying to make it a Debian problem.
Well, it's an our problem. When we need to implement Mirror and all that. That's an our problem. But since Debian is already, they are just bringing in our newer version of Qt. That's what I'm waiting for, the packaging for a newer version, and then we have to do the backporting. So it's our problem. Continue.
And I can't do that. We're going to move on to our community's questions. If you have any questions for us, you can go to our forum at forums.ubports.com. And the post for this session is posted 2 days to a week before it begins, and you can post your questions there, and we will read them off and answer them. As many as we have time for, at least. So first, we had Tomas. And I hope that there's an accent there. If there's not, I'm sorry.
Can also be Tomas, maybe.
It can.
Or Thomas.
And he had a few questions for us. The first was, it's getting longer between the 16.4 Devil updates that I'm seeing on my Pro 5. And the backlog milestones aren't seeing much action. Are there just not updates coming, or are development resources being used elsewhere?
Yeah, he kind of already answered his own question. So yeah, the reason is that not every change that is being made is always directly lands in the image. For example, as Marius and Dalton talked about before, this browser NG thing, so the next generation Qt Web Engine browser is not in the image yet, so you don't see it immediately. So there is development that is relevant to Xenial and to the Xenial release happening. That's not directly in the image. So that's probably what you're why you're not always seeing issues being closed, because it's not done, but there are things that are going on. And the turbo, like every device on the Devil channel, is being built every day. So that's there's no infrastructure problem or anything, and we're not deprecating any devices. So don't worry about that. The reason why you might not always see the update is because there's a small bug in the system settings updater section where it doesn't show system updates while there's an app update there. So if an app update from the Open Store is available, it will just show the app update, and after you install it and then launch the update section again, then you will see the system update. So that might be the issue there. But yeah, daily builds are still coming for all devices, and we didn't abandon the goal to have OTA 4 out within a month. So that's still the plan. Yeah. Did I cover everything?
I think you did. Oh, Marius is gone. Well, he was going to answer that. Continuing on then. We had one of his other questions. People's developer interest to recompile their apps for Xenial seems a little limited at the moment. He's wondering, what are we seeing from the development community on this? Is it difficult? Are there not enough devs with Xenial to test their apps? What do we think is going on there? So I think the first problem is that Xenial still has a lot of the regressions, which are getting fixed. So as we get closer to release and more people are able to install 1604, then that's going to start to resolve itself. As well as just getting more outreach to people saying, hey, this is a thing you can do now, because it's only been a few weeks since that support was added to the open store anyway. For the most part, it's just as simple as updating a manifest. There is a post in our forum about that. I just saw in the open store that NFS Pro driver, Bjarne, just announced that he has uploaded 2 of his apps for Xenial. So that's happening. That's a thing right now. If you are on Xenial, you can use either Tense or both Tense and Dottie. I'm going to give you a shout out because good timing, Bjarne. Another thing is that Brian Douglas, the open store, one of the open store guys, he's awesome. Hi, Brian. You're great. Is writing a script that will detect compiled parts of apps in the open store. And if there aren't any, so there's nothing that really depends on binary compatibility, if an app is able to run on Xenial just straight out of the box, it will be added to that store. That is not ready yet. I think Brian is waiting on the time to be able to actually write it.
And also on that topic, the plan was also to implement a check to check the compiled 2-chain version, which means we can have better ABI compatibility checking on the open store. For example, like Debian packages does, which means that it will give you, for example, a notice is not defined how this will be done, but notice that will say this might not work as expected. But that's also a plan for later on.
Mm-hmm. So all good things are happening there. We aren't really concerned about anything not. Ooh. Oh, that's bold now. Okay, sorry. Anything happening. Another one of Tomas's questions. I'm going to say your name like that now. When can we expect a new test version of Anbox for the Pro 5? It has been a while since we started talking about this. What the heck is going on? Where is this image that actually works with the Pro 5 and Anbox and mobile data?
So most of my time has been split across Xenial. That's the first of that part, and second of all is because I'm using the laptop now as my daily driver, because my laptop my desktop is not here at the moment. It's at my mom's house, and she's not home, so it's a big mess going around there. And once my mental state is coming back, I might release this unbox thing. But it is a thing that I plan to release along with other devices that has actually got somewhat unbox support, not Qualcomm devices, but other MediaTek devices, and that might get this experimental support. Just because it's possible to run it on them, even though the performance is not great, it's still a possibility. The reason why I open up for that is so other people can help test it out and get into development, because right now it's kind of hard because it's just one device mostly, and the tablets, and it's hard to get into development of that because those devices are fairly rare. I think the Pro 5 is even the rarest device we have, since I think it was hard to get hold of it. It wasn't for sale for that long. But also, if you have a Qualcomm device, maybe try to get it working, because this is an area where there's a lot of digging around and a lot of using your debugging times, because it's such a complex system, and at the same time it's not something anyone have done before. There's no documentation. There's no written forum post on how to do it. So it's time consuming, but at the same time it's also other problems to maybe not been able to release it yet, because I don't have the access to it. And this can't compile it. This is a laptop.
The XPS 13 has some flaws.
Well, it can
not
compile it.
Standing.
Yeah, I did the camera. I don't understand. Why is it down there?
And if you want to compile something, you need a camera.
Yes. Exactly. In the correct position.
Moving on. The Possessor posted a few questions in our forum as well. First up, he had a lot of people have been asking about how they see things that are or are not working in 1604, and we always say that the bug tracker might be a good place to look for that, because any issues that happen per device are filed that way. But Jan, I think you have something else on that topic.
Yeah, in general, not really 1604 specific, but in general, like an overview of what features, like what high-level features are working on which device. An overview of that will come to the devices page pretty soon. So then you will see for every device really, is the camera working, is audio and phone calls working, how's the general stability, and so on. So you will be able to see that. For 1604 at the moment, it doesn't exist. We will have a blog post pretty soon, I think, like we did for the previous OTAs as well, where we have a call for testing and we just say what the current status is and what the last missing bits are. I think in general at the moment, since we had a pretty big change just a couple days ago, we removed well, that's going too far. Or we removed a PPA, and that introduced some issues that were fixed before. So at the moment, it doesn't make sense to do it, but I think within a week or within 2 weeks, we will have a blog post, and there we can provide some more insight. And then in the long run, we will have this this nice overview on devices.ubuntutouch.io, where you can really see what the status of every device is. So for example, issues like the Fairphone 2 camera, you will be able to easily spot there. I hope that one will be fixed before then, but yeah.
The Possessor's next question. With experiments like Browser NG, Browser Next happening, would it be a good idea to have a beta or developer channel in the open store? Because that way advanced users could just update the apps that they already have to a newer version without needing to fiddle with the terminal. And this is specifically because with Browser NG, I have the instructions to use the terminal to install it. There is a feature request for exactly that. This one I didn't file. I don't think I need to check it. No, I didn't check that. I didn't file that one. For separate channels in the open store, like a beta and a developer channel. Those don't exist yet, but the feature request is there. In the case specifically for Browser Next, we're probably going to ship it in the open store as a separate app from the browser. And you'll be able to install it from there, and it'll update independently of the system. Because a lot of the problems that are in Browser Next right now are QML problems in the actual browser rather than in Qt Web Engine. So as that updates, you'll be able to see improvements on that separately from the rest of the system. All good.
Also, last question here. What kind of architecture are we running, the processor? Okay, moving on.
What?
It's the processor.
Yeah, the processor. I wonder what
the possessor.
There's no
The
R.
possessor.
Yeah, but that was... moving
Your
on.
pun doesn't work.
I know, because I can't read.
Gizmo Chicken in our forum asked, what are the biggest issues that are keeping you from shipping 1604 right now? The browser is one, actually. There are a couple of things that come to mind immediately. And the first is the browser, since it has a few bugs like if you open two windows and then close one, the entire thing crashes because why not? Other things that are happening, like not being able to view some web pages because of a bug in libping, which we can't upgrade because you have to upgrade in the entirety of Chromium, which would be upgrading the entirety of I'm going to start pronouncing that wrong now, Marius. Oxide. So it's not really feasible to fix those. What we believe we're going to do at this point is to recommend people use Browser Next rather than the built-in browser if they experience any of those bugs, which again is not a great solution, but it might be what we have to do given our restrictions.
I would also say the browser is definitely one of the top 5 I have right now on my daily driver, which is the biggest annoyance. So yeah, the browser is also one of the hardest part also because, as I said last time, Chromium is like 2 GB of raw source code. So it's extreme.
Yeah, cloning that isn't a easy task.
Well, that was a yes and no at the same time.
The next thing that I would say is a big problem would be shipping apps as debs instead of clicks, which, as we mentioned earlier, we're going to fix very soon. That was a mistake.
What?
Trying to ship them all as debs was a mistake because now we broke everything, but we're going to fix that and it's going to be before release.
Well, the main reason for that was because OpenStore didn't have Xenial support at that time. So
right. Yep, and that's all fixed now, so we can move on.
Yeah.
Once that's fixed, we'll see things like the duplicate bugs. Those will always be a problem. But the duplicate apps in the launcher, some apps not launching, some apps being really weird because the build isn't working right, whatever, will all be fixed. Those are really the big two that I can think of. The other ones, I mean, there are some issues with... it's not Halium yet. Not Halium, but the Android layer not quite working right. Things like that.
There is to say it correct, there is a lot of nitpick small bugs. Not a lot, but there is some annoyance there. Some devices have more than others, so I think Nexus 5 is definitely the one that has most issues right now.
Nexus 5, the radios are working weird. The Fairphone 2 Wi-Fi hotspots kind of one switch will appear, but the other won't. It's kind of random which one appears. We have no idea. Nah, we'll figure it out though.
Yeah, it's just time consuming.
But that's okay.
But I think
We'll
one
get
of the major issues that, or not issues, the major player into why things take so long is that we removed a PPA, which was the overlay PPA from Canonical. And this one was one of the major player into creating more regression, because we really wanted to remove this and not depend on a PPA from Canonical, which was the stable overlay PPA, if you have been experimenting with that before. And this also had some ABI incompatibilities. It has some missing patches, and had some import errors, and a lot of things that also is really time consuming to import all that. And that's also what contributing to some of the issues that have fallen back on the devices, because because ABI is a weird thing. It's trying to speak a language that you don't understand. It's weird.
That might be one of the better descriptions of ABI that I've heard. Good job. So that's really the big things happening with 16.04 that are blocking its release right now. If you'd like to see those in more detail, you can go to the Ubuntu Touch bug tracker on GitHub and head into milestones. The 16.04 backlog is where we're tracking regressions from Vivid to Xennial, which is really what's going to block the release.
And also we added now our labels already, where we put, or not our labels, there are labels already there. We started using the critical label. As a small reminder from the last OTA, the critical label will more or less control when we are going to promote an image from Devil to RC, for example. So if there is any issue where we have a critical and then brackets Devil label on it, then it's actually blocking the release or the promotion from this thing to RC, and the same goes then for the stable one. This is just to indicate where we are really not thinking that we should ship an image, even not to the RC testers, or of course not to the stable ones. So if you see an item, an issue there with a critical label, then probably this is one of the top most wanted ones that we need to get away, because otherwise we cannot even move on the image to the next stage.
Diogo had a couple of questions in our forum as well. First off, in the last Q&A, we mentioned COF again. So we just kind of wanted to run down on what that is again. What the heck is COF? When we say COF, it's CAF, the Code Aurora Forum, which is a project by Qualcomm to release their sources for Android. And so we have the AOSP, the Android Open Source Project, which is the Android, basically. But COF Android is a fork of Android, which is very similar, but very different in all of the ways that matter.
It's just that it's different in the most annoying ways, like putting enums in the middle of a value in the middle. Okay, continue. We have to go over this enum before.
So COF breaks ABI between Android and itself quite often, which probably will be fixed past 8.1 because of treble, but
I hope
we're not holding our breath on that. But yeah, when we're talking about COF, we mean that different fork of Android that Qualcomm maintains. And that is important to Halium because most devices have that fork of Android rather than AOSP itself. The exceptions are Nexus device, Pixel devices now, and a few Sony devices have AOSP itself.
Yeah, I would say probably 99% of all Qualcomm devices out there use COF because that's what it works best on Qualcomm devices because it's made specifically for Qualcomm devices.
And while we are on that topic of COF, we did have a question of whether the COF platform for Mir was working yet. No, that isn't progressed anywhere. Progressed.
Xenial.
Yep, we want to release
full
OTA
focus on
for
Xenial
first.
Yep.
If you do want to work on it, ask. If you're not sure how to get that running, just ask me. I think I can help you through it a little bit more. And then next, on the last Q&A, Marius mentioned a live porting stream for the OnePlus 3 and/or 5. When is that going to happen? What's going on with that, Marius?
So it's still in scheduling. I'm hoping to get the schedule maybe next week, the Saturday, maybe, because that's when most people have time. But the scheduling's still going on, and I want to bring in some people that can explain a bit better. Some from the Halion community, if they have time, and hopefully we can get something going here. That's not only UBport centric. We want to have it also pretty much a Halion session with focus on bringing up newer devices. And it won't be, even though I will use those devices, it won't be specific to Qualcomm devices, dare I say. I will try to make it as vendor neutral as possible, and I try to make it as easy as possible for anyone coming from whatever device you want to bring in, as long as you have the source code, of course.
Mm-hmm. And then we only have a couple more things left, so you guys can breathe pretty soon. iMate, that's probably right, he's in our YouTube live chat right now, said, it might not be the best time to ask this, but how's the Nexus 5 going?
5X.
Nexus 5X. What did I say? X5? Whatever.
Yes, at 5.
The Nexus 5X is still exactly where it was every last Q&A. Nothing has happened with it new. It's still waiting on, of course, developer time to be able to work on it. We still have a lead on what could be happening with it, but scopes still crash while you're on the lock screen, while the keyboard is a white square at the bottom of the screen. That's the Cliff's Notes of it.
I see Nikit did send me an interesting message here. Well, if the COF platform isn't going to fix, how is the next OnePlus 3 porting stream going to work? Interesting. Well, what I will do there is basically compile Mir directly for COF. I won't do any magic there. I will try my best to keep it as vendor neutral as possible, of course, but I will compile Mir directly for COF. That's basically what I will do for that, and that's the well, not official, but the workaround on this problem. So yeah.
And then with that, guys, you posted a lot of jokes on that one. It's Dead Jim. Who's Jim? James T. Kirk. Who is that?
Come on, who doesn't know James T. Kirk? Do we need to make a lesson about this after Q&A?
Marius, apparently.
Okay,
I
will give you. I give you a private lesson on this. That cannot be. Not even in the year 2018.
Well,
So
I know myself and my cat. That's it.
We can't stay serious for this whole thing. Hummelbach in the forum asked, what is your favorite text editor?
Adam.
Jan, I'm going to let you start.
Adam.
Atom 1.0, the text editor for the home of tomorrow.
Yes, Adam. Adam, solid.
Florian, what do you
Move on.
use? Emacs?
Okay, I'm maybe here the alien with this, but because in my day job I'm using a lot of Windows, it can only be Notepad. But of course, because it's so broken, It's Notepad++. I don't know if anybody knows it. It's Notepad++, like C++. It's the
Notepad++
better Notepad.
is actually in the Snap store now. You can install it as a Snap.
Oh, perfect. Then I can just recommend it. It's great. Except when it isn't. Yeah?
Go
Adam.
Go away.
Someone just messaged me. The best text editor is Blender. Blender does have a text editor, everyone. You can do that.
Well, the same way as Emacs has a 3D rendering engine, so.
It actually
Well,
does.
I'm going to end this off, and I am going to apparently get staked at the burnt.
What?
I use Visual Studio Code for all of my editing needs.
Microsoft, man.
Yes.
Yes.
I see some
Apparently,
changes
you hate
here. That,
freedom.
yeah, and then later on we switch from Node development to C#. Then I'm in also. Yeah. Then you can count me in.
Then we will all be ready for this.
Well, let's take it in the sensible way here. There's 2 person for Atom, and there is 1 for Notepad++ and 1 for Visual Studio Code. So Atom wins. End of story. Moving on.
Definitely. Atom always wins.
But
Since
we can do teleconsole. Me and Jan do teleconsole, and you guys are not invited.
collaborative
like
editing, and you're not invited.
Yes.
Since we're at the end of the episode anyway, I do want to say I did write an ASP.NET Core app on Linux in Visual Studio Code, and it actually wasn't that terrible. I'm going to be honest. It was actually kind of cool.
Big
I
silence.
doubt. Just the meme. Just insert the meme that says doubt. Diago says Vim. Well, for many years. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Am I back? Okay, so actually, I've been using Vim for many years and exit.
Vim is the one and only. Good job, YouTube live chat. We're gonna make this. We're gonna continue this meme. Well, that's about all that.
Understand. You have Nano. Why don't use Nano? You have Nano right there. It's like it gives you 2 options. You have Vim or Nano, and you take Vim.
Yeah,
Okay,
I do actually.
carry on.
I do.
Is it to show off that I can use Vim?
No.
It's to show off that you know how to exit.
Kill all of
Okay.
them.
Okay, I don't know, but I don't know what's with Linux and text editors, but everyone is having so much fun with text editors. It's weird. It's weird.
Wow, it is raining a lot now. Anyway. So
Yep.
thank you everyone for coming out and watching the Ubuntu Touch Q&A number 29. You can find us in a lot of places throughout the next couple of weeks before the next one, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google+, Mastodon, and Diaspora. If you want to talk to us in real time, you can find us at UBports on Telegram or #UBports:/matrix.org on Matrix, #UBports on Freenode, and you'll get someone in all of those places who will be happy to help. If you like what we're doing and would like to donate, you can find us on librapay.com/UBports, or if you want some of those fancy new swag items, patreon.com/UBports. Those are coming in the next few days. Jan? That's exactly what you're going to say. All right. So thank you, everyone, and we will see you in the next 2 weeks. Bye-bye. At least if we can schedule it then. Hit the like button.